How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Circle of Bones. This movie's from 2020. That's the year it came out in the Philippines, the country that made this. It wouldn't be until 2021 that this movie came out in the States, and then it wouldn't be until January 2022 that this movie finally made its way to the Walmart where a lot of people found it initially. So a fair bit of a journey there. This movie was written and directed by Vincent Soberano and stars Sarah Chang and Marela Torre. Sorry if I mispronounced any of those names. But yeah, this movie I quite recently found at the Walmart, and it was a good surprise. You look through a lot of the direct-to-video movies at Walmart, and yeah, direct-to-video is getting to be a little bit of a misnomer because with wider options to release films, a lot of these movies did come out somewhere else before they made it to Walmart's DTV movies. But that's where I first saw it. And you get a look at a lot of these movies, a lot of them are pretty micro-budget, and about half of them are these British no-budget films that have no intention on delivering the concept. They just know that if they put 90 minutes behind a well-designed cover art, people will buy it. So I wrote down the names of the movies, and I went home and I looked up all the trailers for them, and I saw that this movie actually looked pretty good, and there wasn't really anyone else on YouTube talking about it, so I'm like, let's check this out, and it was pretty solid. You know, it's not quite a hidden gem, but it's still a pretty good movie, and, you know, considering that this was relatively low budget, they pulled off a lot, you know. Like I said earlier, this is a movie from the Philippines, and this has pretty good cinematography, and really does show off its location pretty well. Either the natural, undisturbed beauty, there's lots of really good shots of the Philippines here, or just rural life, you know, some really cool Philippine buildings and the people that live in them. Very, very nice work there. But there's a few other cool elements. This is a cultist mystery movie. It's told through a series of flashbacks. It's primarily the flashbacks, but you do get the woman telling them, and who she is now contrasts pretty well with who she was in the past. A little bit, you know, flavors of Matthew McConaughey in True Detective, you know, something like that. And you do get to figure out this mystery. There is a pretty big procedural cop element to this show, but it's still more of a cultist movie. But every now and then the girls would be like fighting some bad guy or tracing down some clues, and it did feel a little procedural cop show. But still, you know, there is a reason why that genre is so popular, and it does it pretty well. But anyway, you know, they track down this cult, they're trying to save a girl, and it is a really good mystery. The cult leader is kind of big and over the top, and it can be a little cheesy sometimes, but I'd much rather they swing for it. And, you know, you get elements of who can we trust, who's in on it and not, and then you finally get to the end in this big abandoned building, and they really swing for it in regards to the supernatural stuff. I was a little worried that they would play that too low-key and it would get a little boring, but no, there's some fun supernatural fighting. You get lots with the girls fighting regular people early on in this movie. But when things get a little supernatural, it does get fun. It doesn't go all the way with it. I was kind of hoping it'd be big over the top and cheesy. But you still get supernatural fight scenes. And it's still pretty fun there. So, while it's not the biggest, best hidden gem movie, it has an idea what it wants to do. It's going to do its best to deliver it to you. It has a story it's wanting to tell, and these people do have really solid effort delivering it. Like I said, there's so many British horror movies that don't even try, and this movie really does, and they get, you know, it's a low-budget movie, but you really get some value for your budget there, and it's pretty cool. And just, to see someone trying their best and making a really solid movie, I was really appreciative of this. It was really fun. They got a lot out of what they had, and they told a really cool story. Yeah, not perfect and a little procedural cop-esque, but still pretty cool. Let's go ahead and talk a bit about the plot. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few of the plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what this movie's about. We open up with a troop of police, and they're raiding this building, only to find that they're too late. There's no one there, but what they do find is the titular circle of bones. A bunch of human bones laid out in a circle. The aftermath of a very bad and bloody ritual. However, the police only think they're alone. There's no other humans there, but there is a smoke monster with a glowing red eye. So, right off the bat, you know there's going to be some supernatural stuff. You know they're going to really swing for the fences, and I did like cueing us in really early on. Smoke monster kills all these cops, and the detective goes, all our cops just died. This is a weird cultist thing. And she tracks the cases back to the first instance of something like this and gets a team together and says, hey, let's talk to the cop that did the first case and see what she can tell us about what's going on here. Well, they go to her apartment and she's locked herself in. She's drinking and she's not looking too great. She's traumatized and not living a great life. And they said she was the only survivor. She walked away from it bloody and half insane. And this is her life now. She doesn't want to talk initially, but of course they eventually get her to. And you get a flashback. Most of the movies, the flashback, there are a few little bits where they cut back to the present. And then of course the ending, right? But most of it is a flashback. And you go back in time and you see her as a regular cop, and she's almost unrecognizable because here she's clean and professional versus in the future where she's not looking too good, but she's clean, she's professional, and she's been called in because of a series of disappearing people. There's been a few high-profile families where a lot of them have gone missing, and they said, they just went back to the country they came from. But immigration has no records of these people leaving the country. So there's a bunch of mysterious, unexplained disappearances, and that's what they're sent to investigate. So she's paired up with a local cop, your crime-fighting duo, these two tough cop ladies. But we know the local cop isn't in the future, so something's gonna happen to her. So a little bit of dread over her character from the very beginning. But anyway, they start to investigate, and they go to where they think they think it's human trafficking at first, not a cult. They'll find that out later. But they go to where they think it's going on. They talk to one of the locals, and she has a little adopted baby girl, but the local doesn't really trust the cop's partner and tries to get the main one a message in secret. And you have to wonder, why doesn't she trust the partner? Well, there is a reason for this, and it's not exactly what you think. There is a secret she has, and it's a pretty interesting revelation. Anyway, while she's trying to get the message to the main cop, she's killed, and the young child is abducted. So, the child's gone, and the second detective says, hey, look, we don't have much time left. We got to find this kid. But you don't really know who you can trust. Anyone can be in the cult. And especially as they start to realize that it's a cult and not just human trafficking, you don't really know what the rules are anymore and how deep and dark it can go. So who do you trust? What's really going on there? Can you find the girl, So it becomes this mystery. And eventually you find out about the cult's past, how they used to be kind of an innocuous hippie group, when all of a sudden they uncover something deep and dark and ancient, and you get to see the main cultist go mad and how he changes. And there is a bit to the cult's history, and of course they track him down eventually to this abandoned building for the climax, and they really do go for it for the climax. Like I said, they go heavier into the supernatural as the movie goes along, and it does lead to a fun ending, but at least they cued us in that it would be supernatural from the beginning, you know? So they go in, and there's a pretty solid climax. These two tough cop characters fighting off these supernatural things, and also they bring in other cops with them, which are kind of cannon fodder, but that's important. You have to have some fun kills, and a lot to like here. A lot of supernatural action, you know? So a lot of supernatural fight scenes. It's pretty fun. Now, I won't spoil the ending, but I will say that there's a twist on the ending, and the twist was executed pretty well. It was a good, surprising twist, and you're like, oh, wow, that happened. And why the twist was cool, after you think about it for a bit, you're like, oh, but wait, where does that leave the characters, you know? There's, like, how this leaves the state of the world and the state of the story. Maybe not the best, especially because there is a few characters that you're like, wait, what exactly happened to them, though? So the twist was interesting, but the ending wasn't as satisfying as I would have hoped. So there is that to it, but I really did like all the effort that went into this one. You know, you have elements of that true detective flashback, someone that's clearly been through a lot. How did they get here? You get some good cultist elements. You do get some action, and the action is fun. It does take a little bit away from the horror when they're punching a lot of these things, but it is really, really fun. And you do get some procedural cop moments that are done pretty well. Again, not the scariest thing ever, and I do like this movie the most when it does go for the horror, and I do wish it was more big and over the top, but a really solid effort. It gets so much done with a low budget, and this movie, it looks really good, you know? So, not the best thing ever, and not the scariest thing ever, and the ending wasn't, you know, as good as I would have hoped. I would have want more closure, but it did have a really interesting twist on the end, so I think some of you might really like the ending and some of you might not. You know, good twist, not the best closure. But anyway, overall, this movie is pretty solid. I really did like it, and if you guys are fans of low-budget films, you get to see that they really pulled off a lot here, you know? So, they got a lot, and it came out really well. So, yeah, I really did like this. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see more, you can click right there and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.